Thank you, Oprah, for having me. Thank you, guys. So your fathers were very strict. Now, here's the thing. You've gone one-on-one with some fierce competitors in the ring, right? But now you were in one of the scariest situations any man can be in, raising three daughters. Yes, yes, extremely scary. And are you a strict dad? I am not super strict, but discipline is important. But also, you know, I go back to my dad. My dad loved me with a small capacity in which he was capable of. So I learned from that and show with my daughters I want to be as full and as present with the love that I give them. Present, yes, that's what we were talking about. What do you want to make sure that they get that you didn't get? And it's so interesting when you have children. I've seen this from a lot of people who you didn't get what you needed. You just didn't get what you needed because of what the rock just said. Your parents didn't have the capacity to give it to you. And now that you're older, you have to learn to give that to yourself and to be able to give that to your children in a way that you don't carry on what was done to you. So what is it you want your daughters to know about the way you love them? I want my daughter to know that I love them unconditionally, truly unconditionally, without condition. And I have a daughter who's 18 years old. Her name is Simon. Jasmine, who just turned 4. Baby, Tiana, thank you, who is getting ready to turn 2. And I am as I told my 18 years old daughter, Simon, I said I love you. I'm going to tell you I love you every day. So you were one of those who say the words out loud. Yes, because I didn't get that. And I look at you. I love you and I'm going to text you. But I also told her, I'm unattached. You don't even have to text me back. Right, you could text me back. It's fine. But you don't have to. Like it's okay. It's without condition. It's unconditional love. And I also want to teach my daughters the values of hard work. More importantly, I want to teach my daughters the values of being kind and how important that is. Well, you know, I read that your father, you used to watch him in training, and he would say, "It's I'm going to get up at 6 a.m. You're going to get up at 6 a.m." So, what do you think you got the most from him? Was it your work ethic? What was it? It was definitely my work ethic. My dad was a man who, again, the odds made it. But he would get up as usually 5:30 in the morning, and he would say, "If I get up, you are going to get to." He would drag me to the gym, and by the way, I'm 5 years old, and he would drag me to the gym. Yes, and I wouldn't work out, but he would just make sure. that I was there and be with him, and that was our time that we could spend together. But I would share my work ethic from my dad. My dad always said to that, regardless of what you do in life and where you go, respect is going to be given when it's earned, and you have to go out and earn it every single day. Yes, so your dad taught you a lot. I wonder what have your daughter taught you. My daughter taught me how to be, I think, more caring and more sensitive and more selfless. Yeah. Were you there for all of them when they were born? I was right there, right? Yeah. I mean, right there, yes. I mean, you were right there. I was right there, yes, and bring it on. I mean, this is our moment, yes. And is that a life-changing moment when that happened for you? It's the greatest thing that I have ever experienced in my life, and it gave me such a profound respect for my baby mama. I had two. I was one married, and now I'm happily married. Lauren is back there. We know each other for 30 years old. 30 years now. But I have. It has been the most profound experience of my life because also too. You know, when you meet as a man, you meet someone, you meet a woman, and this is going to be the one of you to get married. And my first marriage didn't work out. But then the birth of a child, and what that does, and the lens perspective that just shifts, and it just gives me a new profile respect again for again. Their mermaids. So it didn't work out with the marriage, but then she became your business partner. Your first marriage. She did, yes. And you still, we still are. So my ex-wife, Danny, we, the marriage didn't work out, and it was just one of those things where it wasn't an ugly divorce. It was just marriage, wasn't it our cards? We rich friend. Marriage wasn't in our cards, but we both had an appetite for business and to accomplish things. And we thought, well, what if we continue to do business together? And do you think we can? And it felt like we could. Much something happened, and we did. I know you didn't grow up with a lot of money, and I read the story about when I think you was 15 and there was an eviction notice on the door, and how that made a big impression on you, right? I did it. Yes. Now you're one of the highest paid actors in the world. Thank you. I do all right. Thank you. You do all right. And there's that title, the sexiest man alive, the highest paid in the. What do those titles mean, if anything? You're the greatest, you're the most popular, you're the most followed, you're the most, you're the most, you're the most. It's Great for the ego. It's wonderful. Yeah. The better question is, how do you keep your ego in check when all of that is happening around? Sure, very important. People I has around me, and how important that is. Do you have anybody who can tell you the truth at this point? Yes, she calls my wife. Yes. Okay, Lauren can tell you the truth. Yes, Lauren can tell me the truth. But by the way, and this is where it's the tricky thing for us to being in this position is we want to make sure that we have people around us who are inspired to do well and reach for and continue to share our vision, but also at times say, well, I'm not quite sure if that's the right thing to do. So look, I've had a wonderful career, especially coming from being a visit, and those titles are nice, and everything is fine. But honestly, I'm so grateful to be in the position I'm in, and I never take anything for granted. I try not to. Aren't you glad that you was one a visit? Because it gives you such an appreciation for what you have now. It just gives such perspective. When we were 14 years old, we lived in Hawaii and we lived in a small efficiency apartment. And my mom and I came home, and I never forget the rents were 180 a week, and there was an eviction a week, a week, and that's were an eviction notice on the door, and this were the one, this were the final eviction notice, like that's the one. My mom started crying, and I never forgot in that moment. It was a seminal moment for me because I felt like I never want to be in this position again. What can I do? So at 14 years old, I thought, well, the heroes in my life, Muhammad Ali, for example, professional wrestler, there's old men who have worked hard with their hands and they build their body. Yes, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do what my dad taught me, and these are the heroes. I'm gonna go build my body so we never evict it again. But being evicted, by the way, has, as you were saying, has not only given me just great perspective, but also gratitude, but also my team and my family we love. That's it. But I feel this way like, oh, well, you know, with a month away from being evicted, I got to go to work. Like I still have that in my head. You still have, I still have that in my head, you know. But it keeps you grounded. By the way, yes, because that's why the must this, and the must that again. It's wonderful, but the alternative is what I once was, and it's also the strength the way you were wired. Because I do say thoughts, I do. and I know there's going to be more toast, but I still do because there's something in me. Because when we were growing up, we had to save it. You know, you weren't allowed to like throw food away. So that's a really big deal. So here's the deal. You have now the you get the biggest paycheck. You have all this money, acclaim, fame. You didn't have that growing up. How do you raise children who have good senses and are also kind when they have everything? Because part of what makes you who you are is having had that eviction notice and having not had everything. So how do you do that? How are you planning to do that with your children? So for example, with our 18 years old daughter, like we share the stories about being evicted. Her mom parents were immigrants who came over from Cuba. It's important that we always share those stories, and also we live, we live, we try and keep it as simple as we possibly can. At least we had a farm in Virginia. Happily to say that I moved my family here to Atlanta. So yeah, place 13:45 minutes away, where it's very quiet, but also just making sure that we continue to instill in the babies and the kids the values of $1 and what it means and the values of food and a way saying how grateful we are and the things that we're grateful for, especially at that young age. So I want to know how is success different from the way you imagine it would be. I never imagined this. At one time when I was a kid, I did feel in my heart and in my gut that I was that thought I think the world is growing here for me. I don't know how, but I do feel that way. But I never thought in my mind it was this level of success or fame event. It's what I don't know how, but the world is going to hear from me. So, you know, which is maybe why at times I could walk around and I could look at things like I am a big kid, like everything can at times can be like I am a Willy Wonka chocolate factory where I'm just really is aware of everything that's really happening around me. What's the first thing you splurge on when you realize you have enough to splurge? Okay, sure, alright. The first thing I splurged on sure when I was a kid, 14 years old, 14 years old. In my mind, what it means to be successful. It was a Rolex watch. Right. So there was such a valuable lesson out of this. So I talked for years. Oh, wait. Every successful man has a Rolex watch and has diamonds in it. So when I finally were making a little bit of money, and this is 1999, and I thought, okay. And by the way, I was still living in an apartment, paying monthly rent. But again, or you renting and buying a Rolex. I was just renting. Horrible financial. You should be finally if you buying a Rolex, okay? Yes, this is what not to do.